Macedonian 150, yeah, and I've always been a giant fan of giant monster movies, sometimes called Kaiju movies, which essentially just means giant monster in Japanese. These are all movies about giant monsters destroying buildings and cities. I mean, movies in this genre include Godzilla series, Gamera series, Pacific Rim. So yeah, Americans have made movies in this genre too, but it's mostly a Japanese genre. So anyway, this is in my knowledge pretty much all the giant monster / kaiju arcade games there is out there. So let's get on with the list. Right, so the first game is Daikaiju no Gyakushu. This was created by Taito in 1986, and the plot of this one is a bunch of people stole your eggs. So you just come out of the ground and just destroy anything that moves. You have some eye beams which to blow planes up, and fire breath, which you can't keep hold of the button. You just have to shoot short bursts of, which is kind of annoying. The fire breath gets rid of projectiles on the screen, which is important because here's the biggest problem this game has. It's very difficult. I mean, you're such a large target, and it's kind of hard to avoid bullet projectiles as well, just because how big you are. So you'll be constantly dodging things, constantly getting your health drained, and you just literally can get killed in seconds in the game just because you're such a large target. And yeah, this is the big massive problem with this game. It's because you're such a large target and so slow, it makes the game next to impossible. Amusing, I've had to play through this once with cheats, and yeah, I think the developers knew this game were impossible because the game has no ending. It basically just has, I think, 4 stages, and once you get to the end of the 4th stage, it just loops. Not like you'll ever get there anyway, because when you get to the first boss, which is all the boss in the game, it's just a spaceship covered in gun turrets. You can't ever get near it because you just get killed in seconds because of how many bullets it's spewing out. You can't dodge it because you're too slow, and you're too big target. So yeah, for the first game in this list, this one was by far the worst game in this list, and not very fun to play. An interesting idea, but yeah, they didn't do a very good job of it. Right, so our next game was also made by Taito, but this time in 1992, and this obviously must have been by the time Street Fighter 2 was out by this time, and yeah, they tried to make a Street Fighter clone featuring, well, giant monsters. Well, specifically, dinosaurs. And this was the rather poor English mess that is Dino Rex. I mean, you play as a bunch of random, like, odd-looking, like, stop-motion, like, I'm not sure if they actually are stop-motion or not, or it's just the weird shading on them and it's a sprite, but either way, you play as a dinosaur and you just have to, well, yeah, beat the other dinosaur up. It has some pretty bizarre mechanics, to be honest, the game. And some of the animations are pretty funny, and sometimes if you get too far a distance from an enemy, they'll just magically just go back on themselves and run forwards. It's kind of funny. Oh, you beat some orbs up sometimes, and they'll just conveniently walk to a certain spot, then just fall over when they've lost because that's how the game's programmed. Yeah, this is another one that's not that very much, which, well, plays much better than the Daikaiju one, but this is still a pretty bad game. There's not many moves in the game as such, and figuring them out is just the thing. You probably could easily beat this game if you can understand how to play it. It's pretty hilariously inaccurate to dinosaurs because you've got 4-legged dinosaurs fighting using the front legs as fists and other ridiculous things. As you might be able to say, yeah, you can play as a big, fat, overweight purple T-Rex. Yeah! Mate, wasn't expecting to play as Barney the dinosaur in a fighting game, but yes, you can. But this is the most giant monster thing about this entire game is the mini game. Is the mini game bonus round? You need to get up to two fights in the game. where you travel to, well, sort of modernish times, and you just run around and just completely destroy a load of police cars and just smash a load of buildings up. It's also pretty much the best part of the by far the best part of the game. It's also why it's on this list, because it totally fits, just because of that one part. So anyway, on to the next game. Right, the next one, this is one that I guarantee a lot more people have heard than the previous one. This is the other arcade dinosaur-based fighting game, and that's Primal Rage. This one essentially has stop-motion character models of dinosaurs, which is supposed to be like gods of this like destroyed Earth. And yeah, this one has lots. This one was very much Mortal Kombat clone. I mean, there's lots of blood in it. There's actually fatalities in the game if you can pull them off. And it's just one thing I wouldn't know about this game is there's the final boss in the game. See, the game was gonna have a final boss, but they ran out of time, so they have this weird like match against loads of opponents at once for a final fight in the game. While this was going to be rectified with the sequel of the game, it never officially came out. Interesting enough, as a novelisation of the sequel, and the two dinosaur characters made for the sequel actually got toys, action figures. So yeah, Well, by the time the sequel was out, everything will come in 3D, so nobody wanted to touch the game, so Atari cancelled it. So unfortunately, it doesn't actually work on any emulator either. So yeah, this one, the original, has problems with emulator, and they can't emulate 100% accurate due to how complicated the boards were. But yeah, Primal Rage. I'm sure this is. If anyone thinks of a dinosaur-based fighting game or one we play giant monsters, this is probably one of the first ones they're going to think of. Right, so yep, Godzilla got an arcade game, and unfortunately, it's not very good. It's not terrible, and I think my most favourite part of the game is the start of the story mode when you play as Godzilla, because you start with a mini game, you just jump up and down, smashing helicopters and tanks up. Which you take no damage from, so that's pretty accurate from the actual Godzilla movies then. Fortunately, when you get into combat, the moves are just kind of bad. I mean, in the story mode you have to play as Godzilla, there's no other characters available to play as. And all the fights are basically outside of, most of them seem to be outside of cities, so you don't get to destroy any buildings when you're fighting. I mean, I don't know what it is with like Godzilla, but Godzilla always gets in really bad games. I mean, combat in this game is really awkward. I mean, you have like these puny little punching kicks that barely look like they do anything, and a few throws, and that's it. And a fireball move that atomic fire breath can figure out how to do. In the Godzilla mode, I can never even get past the first opponent, King Ghidorah. While it's a versus mode where you can play as another 5 different monsters outside of Godzilla. Why can't you just play as them in the regular story mode? If we just play the same either way. It's strange design. The music's fairly good in the game. It's very Godzilla. Like, if that makes any sense. Well, music you kind of expect to hear in a Godzilla game. It's not one of my favourite games, this one, to be honest. Oh yeah, and one of the things that always makes me laugh about the game is there actually is a lot of unplayable monsters in this game. But one that makes me laugh is Megalon. Not Megalon himself, but everywhere in this game they call him Megaron. Yes, they somehow they misspelled his name wrong in every single screen of the game. Funny is, if you type Megaron into Google, you get a theatre in Athens. So yeah. Also, Megaron sounds like some kind of giant, like, super monster version of Ronald McDonald or something. Yeah, it's just unfortunate this one. Well, this one isn't absolutely horrendous. It could have been a lot better. And this is the only arcade Godzilla game as well, so on to the next game. Right, so the next one is Masked Riders Club Battle Race. Oh yeah, now some people say technically isn't a giant monster game, no, but since Masked Rider is a Sentai show in almost somewhere, or a tokusatsu, which pretty much is Japanese for like superhero. It's a superhero show, and it fights guys in who dress up like monsters who might as well look like the similar things you've seen in a Godzilla kind of movie. So this is why it's counted. And this is actually a racing game. You drive a bike, you pick power-ups up, you have like a left and a punch, and you can pick 9 different Kamen Riders to just run over everything and just dodge everything. It feels really like an evolution of the old Konami arcade game Road Fighter. I'm not very good at this one, to be honest, just like I'm not very good at Road Fighter, but it's alright. The graphics are decent for what they are. You can tell where everything is. It's not unfair in that way or anything. Not much else I can say about this one really, but there you go. Right, next is Ultraman. Now, a lot of people might recognise this one because this game pops up a lot of the times in a lot of the worst games lists ever made for the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive / Genesis. And this is the arcade version. The arcade version of this pretty much plays exactly the same as the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive version. Actually, this version actually shares a lot of monsters with the Mega Drive version of the exact same game. Well, there's a few different ones in each version. But yeah, this game you play as Ultraman and you just have to wear down the enemy until they run out, till the health goes down. But the health is constantly always going back up. Of course, yours doesn't. But so to finish them off, you have to use, I think, a weapon called a Specium Bean. Basically, where it's that bar at the top that says final, you have to get it to that bar. You have to select the final when that bar's full, when the enemy's no health, stand a distance, and do a finisher to clear the stage. And that's pretty much the entire game. There's no single multiplayer in this game whatsoever. You just Ultraman and just fight one-on-one foes pretty much most of the game. And the all other versions of this game, the Super Nintendo Mega, play exactly the same as this one. So if you'd like this one, you'd like the other 2 versions because they're literally the same game in every way. Mainly the music and sound are alright in these, and the graphics will do the job. They're not the best, but yep, and that's Ultraman. Not much else I can really say about that one. So yep, another Ultraman game, and this time it's Ultra Toukon Densetsu. I think that's something Ultra Story or something in Japanese. I'm not an expert in Japanese. But this one's a side-scrolling beat 'em up where you can pick up to 2 players and you just beat up random monsters from the Ultraman universe. This one's got more of a cutesy like SD look to it. And you have special attacks that can clear the screen and 3 different characters to play as, well, 3 different Ultramen. I'm pretty sure that's what you pronounce them as. I know it sounds like a very short view, but this one's I actually prefer this one pretty much over the previous game we did a video on. This one actually plays fairly well. It does feel a bit slow at times, but it's not unplayable or anything. Also, and all the names of the monsters are in English, so you can actually know the things you're fighting are actually called, which is nice. Of course, the story's in Japanese, so I can't help you there. But yeah, this one's fairly decent. You can have some fun with this one. You don't need to have a clue what Ultraman is to not understand that play it or anything like that either. It's just a fun beat 'em up. Yep, so the next Ultraman game on the arcades is Ultra X Weapons, or Ultra Keibitai. And this one's a space shooter game. Now you don't actually play as Ultraman in this one. You actually play as a random spaceship, but your bomb attack summons Ultraman, summons an Ultraman to clear the screen. And pretty much all the enemies in the game are based off those Ultraman fought. So lots of Ultraman monsters, but this time in a spaceship with lots of bullets. And one thing I can say against this one already is there's no rapid fire in the game. You have to tap the button like crazy to shoot. There's no automatic fire. That's kind of annoying, but it's not a deal breaker. it just makes the game a bit hard. There's also nice sound effects, and the graphics in this one kind of have a like Donkey Kong Country like pre-rendered like look to them. Probably because that was big at the time. They actually don't look that hideous in this like them in some games, because everything's still recognisable what it is. But yeah, but it's a pretty tough game. It's not definitely easy, but it's not the hardest shoot I've ever played either. This is the only shoot I know where you fight giant monsters like this constantly all the time. And the final Ultraman game in the arcade, yes, he got 4 games in the arcade, yet Godzilla only got 1. Interesting enough, notice all these games, last past few games have all been developed by Banpresto. Interesting, huh? Anyway, yep, the last one is Ultraman Club Tatakae Ultraman Kyoudai, and this one's actually more like a Pac-Man like game, or a game like Bubble Bobble. You pick one of the Ultramen. Each one has a different like attack bar and life bars. So some can take more hits than others, and you just use your finisher beam, and you just constantly hit all the monsters running around until they all die. Every time you kill them, loads of power-ups drop. After so many levels you get a boss. The game's pretty generous in health this one, it drops health all the time, but once you get to about round 3, it does get pretty nasty, because there's lots of enemies that spew bullets everywhere, and the bullets are very hard to avoid, so you'll be picking up a lot of extra hits in this health in this game. Oh yeah, and every time you kill somebody, it drops point items and items to refill your health or your special bar, which gives you a super beam that just kills anything it touches. This is actually a really fun game. Fun game. Lots of different enemies to fight in the game. Anything I don't really like about it is the music's a bit repetitive. They could have made it a bit better, to be honest, but nah. But oh well. On to the next game. The next one's another classic that a lot of people definitely have heard of, and that's Rampage, where you play as George, Ralph and Liz. It's 3 people that worked for a place called Scum Labs of all, and took some medicine and basically turned into a giant monster and just wanted to just smash buildings up. Obviously you're a bit smaller in this game than you have some other giant monster games, but you still get to destroy buildings in this game, and the main aim of this game is to smash every building up you see, eat everyone for points. The game is what you'd consider a bit repetitive, but it's not really the game's fault, but yeah, this one you can play 3 players at once. This game is fairly difficult as well. The game definitely was designed to be a quarter muncher. I mean, you cannot last long in a life in this game. You're constantly getting barraged by bullets, and you'll always be losing health every few seconds by everything. It's unavoidable, and that's probably if you're trying to get a 1 credit score, I think that makes the game a complete nightmare to do. Not impossible, but yeah, if you can get to about round 6 in a credit, I'd say you're superhuman, because you'd have to be insanely lucky to get that far in this game in credit, because health pickups don't give you that much health back. It's a fun game, but it's more of a fun game in short bursts, this one, to be honest. It's also on an awful lot of systems, this one. And years later we got the technically sort of sequel reboot of the game, Rampage World Tour. Now this one is considerably better than the original game by a long shot. Gaining health's a lot easier now than it is in the previous game. Yeah, you'll still lose health pretty fast, but the game's a lot more generous in health and point pickups now, and there's more power-ups in the game. Some are actually pretty useful, like some that destroy entire buildings in punches, and things like Death Breath. And also watch out for the purple toxic waste cans in levels, because they give you they turn you into the super overpowered monster called Vern, who can fly and just destroy buildings in seconds. My guess for this one, you don't spend the entire game in America and you travel the world destroying everything that moves. Was it maybe I say this one also was far more better gameplay? Yeah, after a while it probably still get repetitive, but that's unfortunately the way the game is designed. And if you're playing the arcade version, there's no save feature either. If you're playing console version, there's a save feature in this game. Strangely enough, the actual final, interestingly enough, if you want to know what the final level of this game is, it literally just shows the final level in the demo of the game. Yeah, the final level of this game is on the moon. And yes, they actually use the final boss in the game. The thing I find kind of funny about it is you don't actually have to kill it. Yes, you can actually ignore the final boss in this game altogether. If you just destroy all the buildings, the level just clears. Kind of an odd, interesting thing to do that, but that's what they did. It's a stupid, goofy game, but that's why I like it. It's got a sense of humour about it. I mean, name any other game in the world where if you eat a vicar, God attacks from the sky of a lightning bolt. There's lots of silly things in the game like that. Lots of silly little things you can notice in the game. Visually, it still looks pretty good even these days. I would say though, to be honest, I think the sequel, Rampage, Universal Tour to this is a better game, but there's no arcade version of that one. It's got pretty much the same visual graphics as this one. Or the same developer as all. But yeah, Rampage World Tour is basically a classic in there, but in my opinion, it's basically makes the original look really bad. This is what the original should have been. Right, so on to the final series in this video, and that's the King of the Monsters. This one were a Neo Geo game series by SNK. And this one you play as two monsters. Well, not two monsters. Like the rich game. Right, so on to the final video. On to the final game in this video. Now on to the final game in this video series. No. Now on to the final game series in this video, and that's King of the Monsters by SNK. And this one was actually released on consoles, but unfortunately the console ports of the game was never complete versions. The Super Nintendo version had no Rocky included in the game, and the Mega Drive version had no Woo! The giant gorilla, basically their version of King Kong, in the game. Though neither of the console versions had Poison Ghost in it, the green slide mummy. It wasn't in either of them, interestingly enough. So if you want to play as everyone in this game, you've got to play the arcade version, because it's the only version with all characters included. So yeah, what they do in this game is essentially a wrestling game but with giant monsters. It's considerably plays better than the actual arcade Godzilla game does. This game is kind of cheap and very difficult though. I mean, it definitely seems really rigged and unfair at times. It's not what you call the most balanced game in the world. It's also, there's actually no final boss in this game. You just literally fight the same opponents over and over again until the game ends. As you might be seeing, there's a weird power-up system which gives you more health and extra few strength. If you keep like body slamming the other opponent, it drops a power-up, and picking up you change colour for some reason. It's a weird mechanic, I don't get the point in it, but another interesting thing in the Mega Drive version of this game, you have an official Sega 6-button joypad. You cannot play the game will not respond at all. You can't press any button or even start the game. Very weird that. It's the only game I've ever found that ever did that, but yeah, King of the Monsters won. Right, so the next one is, so now on to the sequel of the game, the King of the Monsters 2, The Next Thing. So this game only has three playable characters in the game. Now Woo's turned into Cyber Woo! Interesting enough, also, someone must have been a fan of this game because, for some stupid reason, yeah, he's actually a Yu-Gi-Oh card. He's actually based a Yu-Gi-Oh card of him. An absolutely terrible one called Scrapcon. Also, he also appears in Neo Geo Battle Coliseum as a playable character. He's a bit smaller than that one, obviously, because they're fighting human beings, but Yeah, and this one has multiple different modes to play. They changed the, now there's only 3 monsters to play instead of 6, but how does this one play differently than the other one? In this one you've got a bunch of enemies that show up on the screen, and you've got to just destroy them. And then the boss appears and you have to fight the boss. The bosses have absurdly long life bars and you just have to wear them down until they die. You get lives this time, like the old wrestling thing in the game, like pinning people, has entirely been removed altogether. The old power-up system still exists, where you change colour and get more better stats, but now you just get power-ups by walking into objects and throwing buildings at people. This is technically a better sequel than the original. It's got far more inventive boss enemy designs in it. And an interesting fact about this game is, if you play the Mega Drive version of the game, or the Genesis version, there actually was no European version of the sequel, so sequel, but on the system, but they actually changed that version to the arcade version, because in that version it plays like the original game still, outside the wrestling move pinning part. And you can play as everyone in the game, aside the final boss, who, for some bizarre nonsensical reason, was entirely removed from that version altogether. Yeah, it still appears on the game over screen. But yeah, the Super Nintendo version was exactly like the arcade version, just with downgraded graphics. Well, the Mega Drive version was too, but I said the gameplay was different. Yeah, there's lots of different characters you can play out. Well, not many, lots of characters, only 3, but this one's definitely more fun. You can actually team up with 2 people at once to fight 2 people at once to either fight each other or just fight the bosses. Just kind of an interesting thing. So you have 2-on-1 fights in this. The original game actually allowed you to have 4 players at once, but this one only allows 2 players at once. Which is interesting, but yep, and that was King of the Monsters 2. And that's pretty much all the arcade giant monster kaiju games out there that I know of anyway. So anyway, thank you for watching this video.